Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the double Rhulk slaying Josh Finney.
We can't give me that name just yet. I haven't done it.
Well,
I am making my attempt. By the time you're listening to this, I will be gearing up for my attempt. I am running this on Friday evening at 5:30 Central.
I'm just excited for you, Josh. That's all.
I've been talking with Dealer today. We've been getting my loadout set up. We're in an interesting arc and stasis surge week, so trying to get my my loadout all perfected, and this is where we're finding out I don't really have a lot of great arc or stasis rocket launchers.
Ooh.
So I may very well be on galley during this experience for everybody. So
hey, look, nothing wrong with that. I'm used to that.
There is not, because I can make up for the DPS with my Gathering Storm. So I did see some absolutely wild videos coming out of this Pantheon run, though. You can apparently get one of the Rhulk. You can apparently get kicking Rhulk to kick regular Rhulk clean off the platform, and it counts as a kill.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
it actually kills him. There was a team that I saw a video of. They were streaming it on Twitch at the time. They got Rhulk to kick they got the copy Rhulk to kick the real Rhulk off the platform when he was like, he had like 2/3 of his health left, and he just kept falling and falling and falling until it popped up platinum score and all the chests started popping.
Nice.
I thought that was very funny. So like, oh well, every team's going to try to do that now, especially next week.
Yeah.
At 20 under on contest difficulty. I am excited. I'm very ready. This is my favorite of the 4 emblems, is the Rhulk emblem.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. I think all the emblems go pretty hard except for the Atrax one. And I mean, like, the further you get, like, the better your bragging rights become, right? Like, I feel like the first 2 weeks you could probably find a pretty competent team. I think this is the week where it really starts testing you. And the surges are part of what make it a challenge too, right? Like, you want to
Right.
build into those. It really is like, how good are your communication skills, how good your teamwork, how good are your, because it's still like, it's contest difficulty, but you're getting surges on top of that.
Right.
So surges and overcharges and things like that. So it does make it a little bit easier, I think. Just God, I think we were all expecting to have a Tormentor spawn up there with us. I don't think we were expecting another Rhulk.
Yeah, that was a. I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was too. I genuinely thought it was a joke, and then I started seeing the videos, and people are like, "No, it's real," and I was like, "Oh, oh, 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 oh." This one doesn't chase you around, though. It can only kick you. It doesn't shoot out the pervading darkness debuff or anything. It can only kick you when you get really close to it. So the objective is basically just keep them both in front of you at all times.
Well, that's good, I
It
guess.
is invincible, which definitely adds to the problem. And they do spawn, I believe they spawn a Tormentor while you're doing the running the symbols phase.
Mm.
Um, this has me kind of terrified for what they're going to do for. Everybody's so scared about Riven, and I really don't think I don't think they're going to change anything with Riven. I actually don't think they're going to. I think that the cheese is going to be left in and everything. But if you want the high score, which you have to get the high score in order to get the triumph and in order to get the title, I think that they're going to make you do it legit.
Yeah, that
Because
would.
legit Riven on contest difficulty has only been done by a handful of Guardians. So I'm very, very, very curious to see how they do this. I because here's the thing, you only got to clear it once, because just if it was the final boss, you could do that, you could probably do the cheese and get the time bonus. You won't be able to do that here, because in any other reality, Riven would have been the final boss. Oh, legit Riven, if they could have figured out how to patch out joining allies in that encounter, legit Riven would be the final encounter, I think, of any raid gauntlet. But it's going to be Nezarec, and that really scares me, because Nezarec is, of these 4 bosses, like, Nez is probably the easiest.
Yeah.
You can control the mechanics, you can control and dictate where things are going to happen. I gotta think that it's going to be something like invincible tormentors running around. I have to think there's going to be like 3 invincible tormentors out on the field plus Nez at any given moment. Um, I don't know. I'm very scared. I I don't know what they're going to do here, and that frightens me.
Yeah.
Um, I almost wonder if they would pull a fast one on us and introduce members of the Dread.
Ooh.
Um, but
That would be
I feel like that would be too much to do though, like for an encounter that's going to go away in 2 weeks.
yeah, but it would be interesting.
It would be really intriguing. I think for a lot of us, this week is the end of the road. Either you won't be able to clear it, or you will clear it, and you just won't be able to get through. Like legit, there are a lot of people running around going, "Oh, legit Riven won't be that hard." I've watched videos on how to do it. I'll tell you right now, we're setting up practice times for me to go in and do legit Riven next week to
Mhm.
practice before I do it in Pantheon. Like I was talking with Dealer, and he was like, I will not take you in there without you knowing how to do it, because he says if somebody goes down, you have to know how to do the mechanics
Yeah.
if we can't get to the reses.
Yeah.
So I am bracing myself. I understand how to do most of it. It's the eyes that I don't quite understand, shooting the eyes of Riven that I don't super understand.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna be practicing. I'm not super thrilled about this, but we're gonna give the old college try.
No, I think you'll do great, Josh.
You know, I'm glad that you think so, because I have no confidence right now in my ability to do this.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't have any confidence in you either. I was just trying to give you a boost.
Wow, wow, what a bitch! What a bitch! I am this is I feel like Pantheon has been such a, if I can like wax poetic on this for a minute at the beginning, like this is without me doing obviously the two hardest ones. I
Yeah.
feel like it's been such a welcome challenge for the community, and I think the community is 100% going to turn on this next week. 100%. Like so much of the community is not going to be able to clear legit Riven with this, because here's the thing: your people are going to clear next week's. I don't think that that is in doubt at all. It's that they're going to have such a hard time getting the score, probably on both on Rhulk and on the time trial score for both Rhulk and Riven, that I think that that's where people are going to start screaming. Because the deal with Rhulk being the final boss this week is, oh well, as long as you just go fast, you get the time bonus, and it's the final encounter on top of that. Like, so you get
Mhm.
that bonus. Like, you're not going to get that next week. That was what hung up a lot of people on the second week, was you didn't get that on Atrax anymore. They had to keep repeating Atrax. We had to repeat Atrax once because we were like 100 points below the threshold.
Mhm.
So you basically have to be wiping all the ads that you see. You gotta, I mean, they're gonna make it to, I think they're gonna make it to where if there's tormentors, like, so that's the other change that we think they're probably gonna add in Last Wish is instead of hobgoblin sniping at you, they're probably gonna spawn a tormentor. And you're gonna have to take it out. I I would like to see if they're gonna leave the cheese in, because I mean, that's cool. Like, you still cleared it, but you didn't get the fucking emblem. The emblem,
Ooh.
you have to do the time trials. If
Mm.
I remember correct, I think you have to, or you'll get your emblem, but you won't get your God Slayer title. And like, that's gonna bug so many people, seeing that that's the one score that they're missing. Like, I've already seen the horror stories in the first couple weeks of LFGs of people taking like 20 hours to try and get this done. And it's like, bro, you are not math class. The joke I saw was, you are not math class doing Last Wish on day one. You are not Dado trying to get that world's first clear. There was one LFG, like 50 something people had rotated through it since the posting was created. None of the original people were still there when a clear was gotten. I was just like, how? Like, people were spending 9 hours in Pantheon trying to do this, and I'm like, nah, I got a time limit for how much I'm willing to deal with this shit. Like, it's one of those things, like, I'll be totally honest, if I didn't have a group I was running it with, I probably would not have done anything past the first. I think the first week I could have, like, pretty comfortably found an LFG and done it. Beyond that, nah, no way. No fucking way. So I'm looking forward to getting that clear. I will be happy if I at least get through the Rhulk one. It'll bother me forever that I was so close, because I think that's where a lot of us are right now. If you're clearing Rhulk, you're like, man, I'm only 2 triumphs away. You're an 8 boss gauntlet of time scores away from doing it. Like, so you're going to be fighting every one of those bosses with the changes on contest. So that is definitely still a challenge. Like last week, the Solar Surge really helped because we were able to sit there and just pump Whisper into Oryx and fire our golden guns in and things like that. Now it's like, well, I hope next week has Solar Burn for the last week. It probably won't, because that would be convenient. So I am really curious to see what it's going to be like when you go in the fight Riven and Nez. But hey, that's part of the challenge. I do like that they did not tie the second quest for the exotics to that. They tied it to Rhulk instead. Complete either this week or next week in order to finish the quest and get your choice for raid exotic. I really like that, because for a lot of us, it's like, oh, thank God, we can get collective obligation or conditional finality finally.
Right.
Or 1K if you've just never gone back in and done Last Wish. Because as we all know, killing Riven's not the end of the raid.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually really worried that they were going to tell us that, oh yeah, you've done all these boss encounters, now you have to do the Queen's Walk. The Queen's Walk on contest would just, I would be throwing my headset. I'd be like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. This is where I call it. I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out. I've seen enough teams wipe just doing it regularly. So nope, I'm out. I'm done. I do like these are encounters where you can kind of like pick your teams. You're not just like randomly chosen. That's the problem with Oryx, right? Is that you're with Oryx and with Golgoroth is that you randomly get chosen. You can't dictate the encounter yourself. Everything else you can kind of split into your teams and choose who's going to do what. With Oryx, you get taken, or so you have that happening, and then on the what you call it, on Golgi, they now have 2 people that get hit with that unstable light. Like, that was the first one. Like, if you couldn't do that one on -5, you were not doing the rest of this. Like, that was the first test, and there were a lot of people who struggled there, like decent raiders who struggled at that. Like, the Pantheon is a whole new beast. So I've really enjoyed it. I really can't wait to see what changes they're going to do when they inevitably bring the activity back. Um, I think it's been great.
Yeah.
So we actually have a question about Pantheon, which we're going to hit it right off the top of the show. Gus messaged me a little bit earlier and said, how would you like to see Pantheon expanded upon? Obviously, old raid encounters, boss encounters would be cool, but I think some sick armor ornaments would be the way to go. The emblem you get for clearing each week is cool, but emblems are already bloated in the game. So I want to say this. I do think that the emblems are bloated. These are some of the sickest emblems we've gotten in the history of the franchise. These are really cool. I've seen a number of people say that at the very least, the Rhulk emblem should have been like the day one emblem for doing Vow on contest difficulty. And I agree. I totally agree with that. What I would actually like to see more, because here's my problem with armor ornaments. I think armor ornaments, then you're like, oh my God, I got to clear it on every class. And I think that's just too unrealistic. I would actually like to see an ornament for the exotic that is tied to that boss encounter. I think that would be really cool. But like you get like a special tint to it, like they can sell it later on in the shop and get money, but you get a special version of it, like an I was there version, just like with the Brave Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would probably be the way to go. Like imagine you finish the Nezarec encounter. Imagine you finish Nez and you claim the triumph and you get a special ornament for conditional finality. And that's the only way you can ever get it is by clearing that Pantheon. I hope that the next Pantheon they bring back, though, by the way, I hope it's not here for just like 3 or 4 weeks. I think it needs to be here for like a whole season. Just to give people time. Like, especially if you're going to tie it to something like the 10th anniversary, I think it needs to be here for the rest of that season, or for the rest of that episode. I think 4 weeks is a little too much. That's a little too much FOMO for me. It works now because we're starved for content, but I can't help but think, what if they would have dropped Pantheon back in like March?
Yeah.
And I know that there probably was a lot of testing that had to go on here, and of course, they had to pull people off of the final shape in order to make this stuff, or off of episodes, and I think they really cooked with this entire update. But I'd like to see that. I think that the adepts they're giving out are very generous. It's one per encounter per week. So, like, by the end of this, you are theoretically acquiring a minimum of 22, 23 adept drops from all this, not counting your triumph. If you count the triumphs, you're probably accruing about 30 adept drops of these weapons. That feels pretty goddamn generous to me.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is also going to be a little, and again, like, I think I think the loot's really rewarding no matter what. It's obviously more rewarding to those of us who still have red borders to finish up from these raids. And that's why I'm really kind of stoked for this last week, because now you're getting the weapons from Last Wish tossed in there, which you haven't had before. You've had the ones for Deepstone, you've had ones for Vow, you've had ones for Ron, but you haven't had them for Last Wish just yet. And there are eight or nine craftable weapons in Last Wish. This is a great opportunity to get a lot of those knocked out, or at least get significant progress on them. For those of us who maybe had problems farming earlier in the year, aka me, this is a really good opportunity, I think. So I feel like the loot's generous enough. I'd like to see, I would like to see exotic weapon ornaments, or maybe like a special, maybe like a special tint on the weapon or something. I think there's some cool things you could do there. I think weapon ornaments are the way to go, as opposed, and I've always advocated for that, right? Like, it's just like we all got tired of seeing, like, oh, a ship, oh, a sparrow, oh, a ghost, yay. Some of these raids don't have ghosts currently. I think that would actually be really cool. Maybe have a ghost theme to some of the encounters, like, I don't know, just there needs to be more cosmetics as bragging rights, I think. Like, okay, cool, you got your emblem, you got your ghost, but did you get the high score? Because the high score is going to be designated by you having this special ornament or something. So I don't know. I think there's some cool ways, and I really need them to go back to the drawing board for this one and make the next one just as cool, because there's so many different, there's like 3 or 4 different pantheons going in my mind that you could do. I would love to see a dungeon one sooner or later. I mean, that would be really, really cool. That one, I think you would have to do it as just the bosses. Um, I don't think there's a lot of like mid dungeon encounters you could really do. Maybe in some of the more recent dungeons, like for duality, you could maybe do Galran and Keitel. For Ghosts of the Deep, you could probably do the second and third encounters. Um, but like something like Spire of the Watcher, you're probably only going to do that final boss. But you could do the middle one, I guess. They've really been designing them, and they probably had this idea for a while. Like, they've got a bunch of the more recent ones, I guess, that have 2 real bosses in them. I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here, right? Um, Hell, Warlord's Ruin has technically 3 encounters you can do. So there's some interesting ones. I'd be really curious to see if they're going to do a 3-man pantheon in the future. That's where I'm bowing out. A 3-man pantheon, I'd be done. I'm done. Bye.
I'm done.
Bye. I'm not doing it. That's the one where, like, I'll do it at -5, maybe at -10. I ain't doing it beyond that. So
Yeah. Pantheon, man. Such a cool idea.
it's a very cool idea, and I think it's exactly what the endgame PvE crowd has needed for a long time.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong on that. Maybe I'm misreading it, but I really feel like it's what that
Mm-hmm.
sector of the Destiny community is needed for a while. But I think this also, like, just underscores, like, hey, we would like contest difficulty to be selectable at any time.
Yeah.
So
I wonder when they bring Pantheon back, if they'll have, like, I don't know, starter difficulty tiers or something.
I mean, that's -5. The thing is, you should not be going into Pantheon, and I really wish they would make this more clear. You 100% should not be trying to do Pantheon if you have not completed these raids before.
Yeah.
Um, That's why, like, when people are like, "Oh, I can't believe Pantheon's not a free activity," like, I can. You
I
need to have been able to do the raids
Yeah, I wonder how many people are I wonder how many people think that they're going to go in and like
a lot,
think this is a training for bosses in the raids instead of the raids training you to
a
do
lot.
this.
There were a number of people who were complaining that week 1 at -5 was too difficult, and that, there were too many people in Fireteam Finder trying to LFG into this and had never done the encounters before. And I think that week you could maybe get away with somebody having not done the encounters before if you had a really strong team, because there was nothing that really required all 6 people. Something like Oryx is different though. Like that's where you can get taken, and it's like, oh shit. Like then you have to guide them on what you do, what the call outs are, everything else. Like it's going to get progressively harder each week.
Yeah.
Um I think -10 is probably the last one that you could do without having like really good knowledge of the raids. And I still personally would not run it with somebody who has never cleared those raids
Yeah.
or who doesn't know the mechanics. Like inevitably there's not enough mechanics to go around in a lot of these raids. So like yeah, you're gonna have people on ad clear. And but even the people on ad clear still need to know how to do the mechanics. If somebody goes down, they need to be able to do it.
Yeah.
They need to be able to pick people up. They need to be able to run. They got to be a slayer machine out there. That's all I'm going to say. You got to be able to just slay out. So
Slay out.
I'm very interested to see what happens going forward. I'm excited for the next iteration of Pantheon when it comes back. I'm hoping that by episode 200, that's 2 weeks from now, that I get to get on here on episode 200 and announce myself as God Slayer.
Josh, speaking of episode 200.
Speaking of episode 200, Corey,
So, first of all,
we have prizes.
we do, but I'm going to get to that. First of all, I turned my desktop into a Windows machine. So, pending any sort of internet technical issues, there is a 90% chance we will be live for
Ooh.
this.
Twitch.tv/Tower Casuals.
Yeah. And then I think I might I think I might dual stream to YouTube and Twitch,
Mm-hmm.
probably just because we don't stream that much and it would just bring more people in. Uh, and then Josh, like you said, prizes. Josh, I am contributing this original Destiny 1 collector's edition.
Ooh.
It's not the Ghost edition, everybody, so calm down. It's the regular one. It's complete.
It is literally everything but the ghost.
Yeah, it's complete. It's the Xbox One version. Complete with Steelbook, the arms and armament weapon descriptor book,
It's a
the
very cool book.
the art cards. There, I think that I'm pretty sure the digital content in this has been used. But that card is in there. The Destiny expansion pass is in here, Josh. In case you
Oh. In case
want
you need to go get your
to.
oh my god, I almost called it Curse of Oryx. In case you need to get your Dark Below on.
Yeah. No, I was thinking more like Skolas. Get your Skolas on.
Oh god.
Um,
Didn't they make that content free at some point?
I don't
I
remember,
really feel
man.
like the expansion pass was made
The
free.
I think when Rise of Iron came out, they ended up making all of that free
I do too.
because they revamped the quest system and they ended up integrating the Dark Below and House of Wolves into the main storyline of
Mm-hmm.
vanilla, and like they created an entire quest line to do those within the main
The
quest line.
quest kiosk was so good in Destiny 1. I miss it.
I miss a few things. I miss going downstairs and going to the table and seeing all the Vanguard just standing around the table.
I miss not having to literally go on an expedition just to find the vendors in the tower.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
good times.
well, so you're contributing that.
Yes, and
Um,
I also have two ghosts that I'm giving away.
2 ghosts. So
Two
Corey has a lot of the physical goodies.
Yes, these are physical ghosts. They're actually back there on my shelf. If you're watching the video, but I'm gonna give away two of those. Very excited.
I have a grimoire book
Ooh,
that I am going to give away. I
nice.
haven't decided quite how I'm going to do that yet. Um, and then I have a gift card of silver that I am going to give away as well.
Nice.
I'm going to give away, yeah, $10 to the person's choice. That makes it a little bit easy. Like if it gets to the weird, like, hey, I don't live in the U.S.
Yeah.
Deal. We have
That
had that before. Many apologies to I think it was episode 100. I think Sammy won a Cade figurine that we had.
yeah.
We couldn't send it to them because they live overseas, and we're like, the shipping is going to be like $35 on this.
Yeah.
So
Also,
can I give you silver instead?
we should probably make that clear too, is like the
Yeah,
physical goods are United States listeners only. So I'm sorry for
yeah.
any of
We
our
just
international
like reasonably
listeners.
we have to put a cap on it at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Sorry to our listeners. I know we have several that are overseas or in Canada, but you can still win the digital goodies.
Yeah.
But it is very difficult for us to send physical stuff. We are not made of money here at Tower Casuals.
Yeah. I actually just I was at the post office today and someone was shipping probably a box about as big as this collector's edition. I don't know how heavy it was,
Uh
but
huh.
it was maybe a little bit bigger than this. $53 to send to Canada.
Yeah, I have to. I actually have to go to the post office tomorrow. I'm really glad you brought this up. I've had a package I've needed to send A1 Johnny for a few weeks now.
Hmm.
Um, and I keep forgetting to go to the post office. I've kind of been a little bit busy for the last month. Um,
No.
Dude, I am like the antibiotics I'm on for my tooth are making me like really sick this week. So
I mean, that's fair.
it's not been a great week. I have something to send him. I have several somethings to send him at this point.
Several somethings.
Yeah, so I actually need to go to the post office tomorrow. But yeah, we've got some fun. We got some fun goodies. We have a thread up in there right now asking for your favorite Destiny and or Tower Casuals memories. They do not have to be Tower Casuals memories. They could just be Destiny ones. Um, and that is where I am planning to give away the Grimoire book. Um, at this point, we're going to give that away there. I don't quite know what we're going to do about the collector's edition. I think we're going to keep that one under
I
wraps until the actual episode.
I actually have I have an idea for the collector's edition, Josh, but I actually think it might actually be a bad idea. But
Well, we'll talk about it away from
yeah,
curious ears.
yeah. Also, mm, you know what? You know what, Josh? This isn't. It's not going to be for the collector's edition, but the first person who messages me where the name Tower Casuals came from, I'll give you $10 worth of silver. Not you, Josh. So stop thinking.
Yeah, I was like, God, do I even remember this?
I don't. I don't
This,
think
this is a deep piece of lore.
this is a huge, deep piece of
This is a
lore.
huge, deep piece of lore. Yeah, I'm gonna do some stuff in the week leading up to episode 200. I'm gonna pop some trivia questions in there. Also, for those who are a part of our Discord, I made the announcement earlier today, but I'm gonna say it on the show tonight too. At one nerd generalist request that we are going to do a mini server wipe of sorts. The night before the final shape, we are going to get rid of everybody's server titles that they have earned, with the exception of the last fashion contest that we did, like 2-3 months ago. That I believe that is the only name that we are going to keep. I am actually looking right now to make sure that I am not missaying this. Yep, winner of the last fashion contest we ran, and if you have the dungeon titles from our dungeon crawl, those 4 titles will stay, as well as the one that we are about to award out. We're starting a new fashion contest. By the time you're listening to this, it will be live. Give us your best pre-final shape drip, and you will get the title Witnessed if you win. We are going to announce the winner live on episode 200, along with $15 in silver
Hmm.
and maybe another goodie if I feel like it.
Hmm.
I need to find some of the emblems I started stashing away around like episode 80.
Yeah, I still have all the hmm. I still have all the emblems from the Grimrar books.
So we may have some special goodies,
I also
some
have
special digital goodies.
I also still have the Lightfall emblem that came in the collector's edition
Ooh,
that I never used because I never opened it. Because remember the first one they sent
I
me,
do remember.
it was trashed, and so I kept all the goodies, and they sent me a new one, and I left it sealed.
I do remember this.
Also, by the way, speaking of collector's editions, good luck trying to buy a Shadowkeep collector's edition right now. I saw one open with no code sold on eBay for $710.
Yeah, that is my white whale at this point, is the Shadowkeep Collector's Edition, which is funny because we have a collector's edition question. This is a great segue into it. Episode 200. It's going to be a hoot and a half. It's 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I believe that is May the 30th. Yes, May 30th. We will have an exact time next week for you
Yes.
on episode 199, and we'll make it very clear in the Discord and on socials. But we have a question about collector's editions from one Ronnie in the Discord.
Ronnie.
Ronnie hit us up. I got to get back to this because I changed these. As we march closer to the final shape, as someone who doesn't have a collector's edition at all, if you had to pick your purchase, which one would you grab? I know some are more expensive than others, but that doesn't make them cooler. So, what is your number one draft pick out of all the Destiny collector's editions, Corey?
Oh, I have them all, so I don't know.
Okay, so if you could only keep one of them.
Oh, the Ghost edition.
So, I'm really inclined to say the Ghost edition here. I think
I
there's
like the
something
Ghost.
about it that, like, it captures something that's no longer in the game, which makes it cool.
Hmm.
The Dinklebot definitely is like doing the heavy lifting here. Let's
Yeah.
not kid ourselves.
So
Dinklebot is the heavy lifter.
it's so funny because I turned it on because I was like, oh yeah, this thing talks. And then when Dinklebot talked, I forgot. Like it's been so long that I just forgot Peter Dinklage was the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I turned it on, I was like, oh man, this is something.
So for me, I'm going to be honest. It comes down to two. So I do not own every collector's edition, but I own the ones that matter, with the exception of Shadowkeep. I'm still very upset about that. For me, it comes down to either the Ghost Edition or the Witch Queen. I think Witch Queen is the closest. I personally think the Witch Queen one is probably the best value that they've
Hmm.
ever done.
I agree.
It is very hard to say that they have had a better value than the Witch Queen one. It came with the Hive Ghost. It had the really cool music puzzle box. It had maybe the best lore book that we've gotten. Not the best bound one. That honor goes to Lightfall's. Lightfall's lore books were out fucking standing, man.
Hmm.
Um,
I love the Puka too for Lightfall.
I like the Puka, but God, that the detail on the Hive Ghost is
Yeah,
really cool.
I agree.
Um, and it was the first one that they had done since the Ghost Edition that I felt like belonged in the same conversation.
Hmm.
Like the Shadowkeep one is cool, but if the Cryptolith, if you don't care about the Cryptolith, then it's nothing.
Yeah, there's
The
there's
Beyond Light one is underwhelming at best.
yeah, I love my tote bag, Josh.
You got a water bottle with it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hiking through the.
I wanted the Shard of Darkness, and I was like, that is not enough to make me spend like $150 on this.
Yeah.
Um, the D2 Launch Edition is like fine. But you get Hawthorne's bag. It has a solar battery. Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, I guess.
I think the bag sucks, but the limited edition for that was pretty sweet. You
Yeah.
got the Cabal box. That's gonna
Yeah.
be one I think I'm gonna track down over the summer.
Yeah. I didn't. I don't have
I
I
want
don't
that
have.
and I want the Taken King one.
Yeah. I don't. I have Hawthorne. I have both of them sitting right there on my thing
Mm-hmm.
with my Dinklebot. I don't have Hawthorne's bag, but I don't need a bag. But
No.
I bought the collector, like the normal collector's edition.
Yeah, I want to find the normal collector's edition for both of that and for the Taken King because they came with so many good like lore books and
Hmm.
physical goodies
Yeah. The
that
strange
I want
coin.
those.
The
The
strange
strange coin.
coin is
So,
awesome.
but I got the strange coin from the 30th anniversary. So I actually have that. That is still chilling back on my shelf.
Yeah,
You can't see it, but it's back there.
the one for the 30th anniversary is bigger than the one that came with the Taken King, I think.
Well, and it also, this was the coolest thing. The one with for the 30th anniversary worked with the music box. Because I remember it was such a big deal. Like they were promoting it, and they're like, "Yeah, if you get it, it has an RFD chip inside of it, and it's going to work with the music box." And we're like, "Oh shit!" And they had a handful of them that were ready to ship right away. And I made sure, like, I earned it the first day you could earn it, and I ordered that thing immediately. And it was really, really cool that it worked with the music box. Um, man, the Lightfall Collector's Edition, despite whatever I think about Lightfall, that's probably like number 3 on my list.
Hmm.
And
The lore books, and like the case the lore books came in was super cool.
it's outstanding for those of you who are watching on YouTube. This is what Corey's referring to. It's very nice. I just pointed it at my laptop, and it came with 3 individually bound lore books that are
Yeah.
all very, very nice. This is the standard for what things should look like in a collector's edition,
Hmm.
not not this.
That's the one. That's the one that came with
This is the final shape.
the final shape one, right? Yeah.
I will say that at least comes in. You can put it into something that's bound, and it looks better on your shelf.
Well, that's nice at least, I guess.
You just can't open it. They put it into like a dossier for you,
Yeah, that's cool, I guess.
which is fine. I actually think that the one for the Witch Queen does that also, but I have packed away the case that it came in. The one for Destiny 1 I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that one's super cool.
You have to take it all out, but arms and armament, it looks like something you would have found in like old Earth, and that was, I think, the point.
Hmm.
The sketches are really cool, and this was like their take on an art book,
Yeah, the
and I
Taken
thought it
King
was
one is like
really,
that
really
too.
cool. I like this. It's sat on my shelf, like it's kind of this rustic looking book. Now
Hmm.
it sits up on my lore shelf with all my grimoire anthologies, my Elder Scrolls lore books are in there. It sits up on the lore shelf.
The lore shelf.
The lore shelf. So Ronnie, to answer your question, I think that we both agree that it's a 1A, 1B, the
Yeah,
Ghost Edition and the Witch Queen.
yeah. Uh, Side question, Josh.
Side question, Corey.
What collector's edition do you want that you don't have that's not Destiny related?
Ooh, that
And you
one's.
can't say the Halo 3 helmet.
I mean, God, the Halo. I mean, the Halo 3 helmet is probably the answer. It's There's some really cool ones that have happened over the years that I regret missing out on. The Halo 3 helmet, and the Halo Reach ones are why I ended up with the Ghost Edition to begin with.
Hmm.
'Cause I didn't care if Destiny ended up sucking. I was not missing another Bungie Collector's Edition. I was an adult with money for the first time in my life. Um, Man, I would have to say the Fallout 4 Collector's Edition was really cool. That came with the Pip Boy. I really liked that one. Um, the Titanfall 1. That's got to be it, I think. That Titan statue is ridiculous.
Yeah. So the used game store
Yeah, I know.
about 2 years ago had one for about for eight had the Titan only for $80, and
Oh my god.
I
Oh my
almost bought it,
god.
and I didn't, and I went back about a month later, and it was gone.
Our friend of the show, Ray Apollo, bought one a couple of years ago, and it ran him like 170 ish before shipping on eBay, and he
That's
was like, it was totally worth it.
I mean, that still seems pretty
That
cheap.
thing is fucking massive.
Yeah.
He showed it to me when I came up for Christmas and was like, "Look at this." And his wife was just like, "Oh my god.
That was the
It is fucking huge. It is 18 inches tall."
Yeah, that's the first Titanfall, right? Because the second one
Yeah.
came with the helmet.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted the second one too.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you ask me if I want the Titanfall statue or a helmet, I'm going with the statue every time. I
Yeah.
don't have room for it and I'm going with it every time.
Sure you do. Just move that Chewbacca thing up there. You'll be fine.
That actually has some sentimental value that cannot be moved. Um, yeah, I would have to do some downsizing of some of my collectibles, or at least some of my boxed collectibles that are up on top of my desk that nobody can see. Maybe one of these days I'll take a picture of what the top of my desk actually looks like. You know, lots of collectibles slash toys, and a lot of alcohol. There's a lot of alcohol on my desk, Corey.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when you used to drink that alcohol sometimes when we like early during the
Oh
pandemic?
my god, dude, I listen, I was a fucking mess when we started this show. There was one night, it was not Tower Casuals, but we were recording an episode of the Boss Rush podcast.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
because it was around New Year's. Because it was you,
oh my
me.
god.
It was you,
No,
me,
it wasn't New Year's.
or was it? Wasn't
It
it the
was in the
episode?
middle of so it was in the middle of the summer.
Oh, that's not the episode I'm thinking of then.
Um I got I was like unaware that I was basically drunk podcasting, and we got a comment from a listener the next morning, and it was, I think it kind of changed my mindset because it was someone who, like, I knew listened to every episode that we put out of every show. And he basically was like, hey, this isn't what I come here for. It sounded more like a drunken frat party than the Boss Rush pod. And that really really stuck with me,
Hmm.
and really changed my attitude on, like, drinking during
Oh,
podcasts.
I know which episode you're talking about now.
Yeah, I man,
I remember.
that was partway through the pandemic. God, when was that? That was like,
It was the summer after the pandemic started. It was that summer.
was 2021? Yeah, I guess it was 2021 because
I
it
think it
was
was.
before my apartment flooded. So
Yeah, it was way before that. I think. I think it might have been 2020.
it wasn't 2020.
It wasn't. Then
No,
maybe it was
I was living
2021.
in Dallas at the time.
Okay.
I was back home.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Right.
was it.
No, because I okay, yeah, it was 2021 based on who was on that episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I felt very bad that I was basically the reason that it was perceived that way without it being said. And that really changed my mindset on, like, unless it's like meant to be that way, drinking and potting at the same time just was not going to be my thing anymore. I drank a lot during the pandemic. I really did. Like, I don't even like, I'll still like crack a beer or like have a drink when I'm like gaming, but I won't if I'm doing a recording. Like, I won't do it anymore. Um, as like a personal aside, I just it's too easy to like spiral, especially because, like, I drink pretty strong stuff. It's really easy to spiral after, like, God, we had done several podcasts that night, and that was the last one of the night, and I had more than a few drinks in me at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I don't drink and podcast anymore.
Yeah.
When I realized that, like, oh, somebody who's listening to this at all, that like listens to every single episode that like we do of shows, is saying this, then, like, how are we sounding to, or how am I sounding to, like, complete new listeners? And just like, so I won't do it anymore. Yeah, I do remember when I used to drink and pod.
Mhm.
Corey, we've covered a lot of ground, but we haven't even touched on
I know.
the two big topics this week, which is, of course, the TWAB, with
Whoops.
some new gear, some information on enhancements and how that's going to work going forward, and of course, we've got a Dev Insights article which we really need to dive into. We're gonna rip the band-aid off and jump right on into final shape weapon tuning. Um, there, God, this is why I have the Gatorade. This is such a long piece. As always, I encourage you guys to read along with us. This is really really long, and I'm gonna kind of try to fly through this as much as I can. Um, all right. Even they say there's a lot to go through, so let's do it. All right, back in update 6.3, we rolled out a set of spec mods, Dragonfly, Surrounded, and Rampage, into the base functionality of those perks, and now we're coming for the rest of the spec mods. We've increased base weapon damage almost universally, and have retired the following weapon mods: Boss Spec, Taken Spec, Minor Spec, Major Spec, and Adept Big Ones. We're already happy with the damage. Oh, actually, hang on. I got to stop there. I thought we were going to keep getting things minimized. Those being taken out is huge. That's huge. Now you have to be a little bit more strategic in how you're going to do it, but also I think it frees it up for more fun damage or for more fun perks to be put on weapons. Now you don't have to run a heavy with big ones on it or with boss spec. You don't have to run your secondary with major spec.
Hmm.
Like you can actually get away with not having to run those. Taken spec being retired is a little funny because for as long as I can remember, I've been the only person in my like core play group that has actually had that mod, and I had it unknowingly for like 2 of those years. I was blessed. I was blessed by a random ass chest in Last Wish like 5 years ago with it, and it's gonna be sad to see that go. But you know, you don't want to sack. You kind of only want to put that on primaries. You don't really want to put it on anything else. So maybe my swan song for Taken Spec is going to be in Pantheon. I don't know. We're already happy with the damage output of exotic primary weapons and trace rifles, um, and have slightly reduced their damage bonus versus red bars. In most cases, this means their damage output is roughly unchanged because they're going to receive buffs later on in this article. Reduced damage bonus versus minors from 40 to 30%, except for fighting lion. All right. Increased base PvE damage versus all combatants. Pulse rifles, 20%. Pellet shotguns, 10%. Slug shotties, 9%. Fusions, snipers, and glaives, 7%. Linear fusion rifles, 5%. There are some notable exceptions here. Graviton Lance and Revision Zero's heavy burst mode will not get the pulse rifle buff. Legend of Acreus, Tractor Cannon, Conditional Finality, and Fourth Horseman will not get the upgrade for shotguns. 1K will not get it for fusions because it was just buffed. Izanagi's Burden and Cloud Strike Storm will not get it for snipers. So basically, just a bunch of exotics aren't going to get it. Increased damage versus minors, which are all your red bars. This stacks with the base PvE increase. Sidearms, trace rifles, scout rifles, and bows, 20% bonus damage. Auto rifles and pulses are getting buffed 15% more. For pulses, this is in addition to the above buff, and Graviton Lance and Revision Zero's heavy burst are included in this 15%. That is just fucking wild. So essentially, you're going to do 38 more percent damage to a red bar if you're using a pulse. That is just incredible news. As someone who really likes using pulses and just got his beloved blast furnace back, this is great
Blast
news.
furnace.
Incredible. Blast furnace with kinetic tremors and firefly is fucking hilarious to watch. I love this gun. I love this goddamn gun. Submachine guns are getting a 10% boost, and hand cannons 5%. Increased damage versus majors, which are your orange bars. Trace rifles are getting a 20% buff. Love that. Big fan of Cold Hard over here, which gets stronger the more you fire it on something. And then increased damage globally, including in PvP, LMGs and swords. Splash damage from ad clear exotic primary weapons was overperforming when combined with the damage buff, so we pulled down slightly on a handful of weapons. Splash damage was reduced by 10% on Sunshot, Trinity Ghoul, Polaris Lance, and Graviton Lance. These are still going to be best in class for ad clear. Like, it's
Oh
not even
yeah.
a question. They're going to be so stupidly good still. So, like, Sunshot is like really only when you combine it with the buff above, it's really only getting nerfed by like 5%. Ooh, oh boy.
Ooh.
Trinity Ghoul is actually getting buffed slightly, like when you consider its PvE buff that it's getting. So I'm not like I'm not too worried about it, honestly. Same with and like Polaris Lance and Graviton Lance, same. Like they're still actually getting a little bit of a buff if you read between the lines. Unless I'm just stupid and I'm reading this wrong. Um Kinetic damage type weapons no longer deal boss damage to bosses.
Mm.
No longer deal bonus damage to bosses. I read boss damage. No longer deal bonus damage to bosses. Um, for example, a kinetic sniper rifle and a stasis sniper rifle of the same subfamily will deal the same damage to a boss. So, um, that's interesting. And quality of life changes to several weapon types. Updated. Heavy, adaptive, and aggressive burst weapon intrinsic names to match burst count across all weapon archetypes. 2 burst is considered a heavy burst for sidearms, hand cannons, and pulse rifles. 3 burst is the adaptive burst for sidearms, linear fusions, and adaptive pulse rifles. and the 4 burst is an aggressive burst, which is pulse rifles. And also removed the foundry name from Viced Rapid Fire, Hake Precision, and Amalon Adaptive Weapon Intrinsics. I kind of hate this. It felt like it gave it a little bit more of like a vibe, but I guess this is to make it like a little bit more streamlined and like less confusing to newer players. That would be my only guess, or like to those who don't get into a lot of build crafting. I always like the idea that these existed, but I mean, I guess if it's only 3 foundries, it's kind of like weird, right? Because those are the base foundries. It's not like Tex Machina or something. Um, hand cannons. Hand cannons. Some aggressive hand cannons struggle to compete with the stats at the top tier examples like Igneous Hammer. So with Krimel's Dagger and something new returning in the final shape, we've updated their stats. You can go and read those stats there. Krimel's Dagger, of course, drops from Iron Banner. Something new drops from the Solstice. Low inventory sniper rifles were a little too low in PvE for our liking, so we've increased the minimum reserves from 14 to 17 shots. Linear fusions. Adaptive burst linear fusion rifles are strong, but in some cases are quite hard to control. Reduced firing animation kick and recoil for adaptive linear fusion rifles. I love this. This is Storm Chaser. This is Briar's Contempt. I am all the way here for this. I love seeing this because I already like using those weapons a lot, and I really like this change. Waveframe grenade launchers deal competitive damage as of the Destiny 2 Into the Light update, but some stats on these didn't have a gameplay effect in this pass. We're adjusting the blast radius. The size of the wave is now affected by the blast radius stat. This will mostly impact the width of the wave through the length, and the height will also be scaled. And the default display stat for the blast radius has been changed from 100 to 50, where 50 represents the previous baseline. Any stat over 50 will result in a larger waved segment than what was possible before. Special ammo waveframe grenade launchers overperform as add clear weapons in their current state, so we pulled the length of the wave back a little bit from 22 to 15 meters, except for Dead Messenger. This does not mean your forbearance is suddenly useless, everybody. Rather, this means it's still going to be a top tier option. It just might not be the absolute like god tier add clear weapon that it has been. In other words, really enjoy using it now while you're in Pantheon, because in 2 weeks it's going to be nerfed a little. 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Swords. There are updating the sword reticle to better indicate its charge state. When a sword energy is consumed, the amount of delay the sword has before it begins to recharge now subtly appears in the reticle. And then there's some bug fixes there as well. Whew! All right, we're like halfway through. We have a lot of exotics and perks to get through now. Maybe the most consequential one. There's a divinity nerf.
Oh,
Divinity's ability to bypass combatant gameplay by generating a weak spot, call it cage internally, on command is too high an uptime as it stands, particularly with trigger feathering. That's what I do. That's when you. We're not changing how effective the cage is or how feathering works, but we are increasing how long it takes to generate the cage, which will make it less ammo efficient and less useful against targets that break aim frequently. I actually really like this. Increase the number of shots required to generate the cage by 75% against combatants, PvP unchanged. So you're gonna basically have like you're gonna consume like 2/3 more ammo.
mm-hmm.
Or 3/4 more ammo, I guess. So it is gonna be a little bit harder. You're gonna maybe want those special ammo finders on if you're running div. I have found that the further we get into the game, the less I don't know how important div actually is. I'm gonna be really honest. Like, I think it's still a nice safety net to have. It's still, I mean, hands down the most useful raid exotic we've ever gotten. Um, but I find myself wondering, if in the year 2024, does div really need to be a crutch? It's been almost 5 years. This fall it'll have been 5 years since it came into the game. Do we really need to keep using div for every single boss encounter? And it's funny because the first couple of weeks of Pantheon, I haven't felt like we needed it at all. I think that's going to change this week and in week 4,
Yeah,
if only for the crit spot. And that's the thing is like you really want it for the crit spot more than anything.
yeah.
It's not that you necessarily need a damage bonus. It's that like you need to be hitting those crits with some of your supers and with the precision hits in order to be generating the orbs, for everybody to keep their stuff up. So I do kind of like this. I like that this change isn't going to take effect until the final shape. This also says to me that when you fight the final boss, the Witnesses raid, whether it's the witness or not. I mean, I'm not the witness, but let's just pretend for the sake of discussion that maybe it's not. That that boss will probably be strafing behind cover if they're doing something like this. That's how I'm taking it. Is there's going to be bosses that are going to strafe either here or in Grandmasters or in episodic content right away, whatever. That it's going to happen because right now I can't think of a ton of bosses that actually do that. That strafe behind cover, um, or like break your aim.
Hmm.
I'm having a really hard time like thinking of specific bosses that like do that you like actually need div for these days in a raid. Um, I think in GMs it's a little bit of a different story, but you're probably not running it in GMs. In all honesty, like if you're in 3-person activity, you're probably not running div too often.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I like this change. I don't actually hate it. I think it makes the end game a little bit more challenging, and that's kind of nice. But like it's not having a div up constantly is not going to ruin anybody in like a regular raid, right?
Hmm.
So okay, you gotta be a little bit more conservative with your ammo. Big whoop. Most of us have to take time to fire off a super anyways at some point. So Rat King's firing animation makes the weapon hard to control at a high rate of fire, so we've updated it. Devil's Ruin could be made to apply its firing animation to other equipped sidearms. Symmetry's Catalyst now provides plus 10 reload, plus 10 handling, and the Eddy Current perk in addition to its existing effects. Gallerhorn's Wolfpack rounds always look like arc projectiles regardless of the weapon's actual damage type, so we've updated the visuals on Wolfpack rounds to match the damage type of the weapon. For example, on Galley, they will use solar effects. On the Royal Entry Void rocket launcher buffed by Galley, they would have void effects. I think that's actually really nice, so you can tell whose is whose. Touch of Malice's burn from the Darkness Ball didn't last long enough to be useful in PvE, so the burn has been updated from 2 to 3.5 seconds. Here's the other one that people are very upset about. Osteostriga made it too easy to spread poison across a whole encounter from a couple kills of weak combatants. Now has a 4-second cooldown on the poison burst on kills. Poison burst from sustained damage does not receive this cooldown.
Mm.
I don't think that Osteo is going to be bad all of a sudden, but it is going to be more like Forbearance, where they're not like the two clear cut best things to use anymore for ad clear. Which is fine because some of us haven't used those at all. Necrochasm's ad clear roll wasn't as strong as we'd like, so we've buffed it and replaced the outlaw perk on the catalyst with a new custom perk that leans into this roll. The intrinsic perk now provides increased reload speed after precision kills, increased duration of burn applied by the cursed thrall explosion against combatants from 2 to 3.5 seconds, and the catalyst has been rebuilt. I love this. This is my new favorite catalyst name. One for Thrall, damaging 3 combatants in quick succession, provides a period of increased damage, range, and aim assist. They basically give you souped up One for All. I love it. I absolutely love this. I am very excited to play with this. I have a feeling I'll be using Necrochasm a lot going in, and its Catalyst a lot going into the final shape once this comes out. All right, Corey. We all love the lament here, but the lament is getting a little bit of a reduction as well.
Goodbye.
Reduced healing effect by 20%. That is, of course, when you are
Ooh.
guarding with it. And while this weapon does inherit the 7% global buff to swords, we've reduced the damage of the high end of the chained heavy attack by 20% from that point. That means combos at lower stacks are less affected by the charge than combos at higher stacks. I actually think it kind of cancels each other out. I don't think Lament's going to suffer too much. And we already. Lament is such a unique situational weapon, right? We're not running around using Lament in every single encounter, just like Parasite's not being used in everything. Like right now, off the top of my head, I can think of 2 encounters that you for sure bust out Lament in, and that is, um, well, I can actually think of more than a few, but 2 that you for sure pull Lament out in are Atrax and oh my god, I'm completely blanking. Crota. That's his name, Crota.
Crota.
You bust him out in both of those encounters. Could be a little bit of a hassle if you're if you're on Master Crota and getting your shit kicked in. Um, but I still like it. I think I still really like it. All right, Corey, we've got a few more. We've got a few more exotics to get through here. Let's go to the Dead Man's Tale, another favorite of ours.
Dead Man's Tale. Love that
The
weapon.
rapid fire hip fire fantasy isn't landing as well as we'd like, so we bumped up the rate of fire and added a bit of stability to Cranial Spike to make this easier to control. Cranial Spike now grants stability in addition to aim assist stat and range, +2 per stack, increase the reload speed benefit of Cranial Spike stacks. And with the catalyst, when hip firing, slightly reduced accuracy benefits, increased magnetism fall off scale, increased the baseline rate of fire from 130 to 140 RPM, and reduced PvE only damage buff that scaled with stacks of Cranial Spike, and added a 15% damage bonus at maximum stacks of Cranial Spike. I like that. It definitely leans into cowboy fantasy. It's still, for me, it's truly the only Tex Machina weapon that's still like really well, last word aside, that really like hits for me. I don't think that the legendary suite that they did from Spire the Watcher really like hit as well as we wanted it to. So this is kind of nice to see. Uh, the colony will now spawn additional insectoid robots on final blows. More robots, up to 5, will spawn from tougher combatants. That's cool. I actually think that this could be used for big ad clear encounters, or if you're someone who like, oh, I don't really need to be running anything specific for heavy, you could definitely go run this. Or if it's an encounter, like you don't need to be burning things with rockets. I'm thinking specifically the first and second encounters in Ron, for example, or if you're doing potentially if you're doing ad clear in something like planets in that same raid, like this may be something that you could run in there. Um, Definitely feels like ad clear encounters. This may be something that you're using. Maybe totems in King's Fall. You could use it. Maybe during oracles and praetorians for Vault Glass. There's a bunch of encounters I can think that you might want to use this in. Um, Truth has fallen far behind other exotic rockets, largely due to lackluster damage. So AoE damage has been increased, and total reserves have been increased by 3. This is on top of reserves to high impact rocket launchers from the 7.3 update. Queensbreaker is going to have increased damage versus bosses, mini bosses, champions, and vehicles by 12%, and 3 more shots in its reserve ammunition. Um, they are still working on this. They say right here, we're still working on some functionality changes to this weapon for a future update. Gotta think that's maybe like targeting the 10th anniversary update, or an update like maybe in July. I think it's probably the next weapon update you're going to see is maybe mid July. I don't think they're going to wait all the way until September. Um, Cerberus plus one's focus fire from the exotic catalyst was limited by it always being available. We've changed this to only being available following a kill, allowing us to increase its strength. So focus fire will now activate on special reloads following a kill and will no longer reduce range or rate of fire. There's God, this is so much. This is so much. My mouth is getting so dry, and we still have so much to go through. I can see the end of the exotic section though, Corey. In a
Yeah.
world where Bastion has competed for a fusion rifle and kinetic slot, we felt it was time to lean further into emulating Saint 14's combat style. Reworking the Saint's Fists perk, dealing damage with melee increases your charge rate, damage, and reload speed for short duration. Landing a majority of pellets in a burst increases melee damage. This is an absolute dream for Titans. Specifically, I feel like Strand Titans are going to eat real good with this one.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, hell, I mean, really, any Titan, like you use those melee abilities, and Jesus Christ, um, I'd actually kind of love to see this paired with throwing hammers. I think that could be really cool. I can think I can hear A1 Johnny cheering from all the way over here about Bastion getting an update. Ariana's Vow. Breaking a matched shield or piercing a champion's barrier will cause the target to ignite. I think that's really cool. Like that's actually probably gonna be a really good ad clear weapon now. If you ever bothered to get the absolutely awful catalyst for it, that is still maybe the worst quest they've ever put in this game, and it's never been updated, unfortunately. Deterministic chaos is now intrinsically anti-barrier, and heavy metals perk now causes every fourth bullet to make targets volatile. Vexadecimal now causes every 16th bullet to weaken targets. And finally, the flexibility offered by fundamentals on Borealis, Hardlight, and Dead Messenger is useful, but most of the time there's no need to switch between damage types rapidly, so it's irritating having the current damage type clear on death. It will now maintain its state on death, state across death or respawn. Thank God. I don't know why it wasn't built like that to begin with.
Right.
All right, Corey, are you still with me?
I'm trying to keep up, Josh. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm sorry. I'm flying through this shit right now.
I mean,
I'm
that's fine.
absolutely flying through this. So I encourage people to read along with us. Um, I'm stopping to give commentary on stuff that I feel like the community needs to hear about or wants to talk about. But I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna
I
keep going, Corey.
all right. I clicked on this.
Any exotic thought? I'm gonna let you get any exotic thoughts out. I'm gonna take a drink.
I don't have any exotic thoughts, but
God damn
I
it,
clicked on this link, Josh, and the first ad that pops up on this link it says be the best at sex. And I'm just like, I don't
Corey. What kind of websites are you on?
I I'm just on a site that I need to use for work, and that was the first thing that popped up.
Wonderful. That is outstanding.
Yeah, it was not what I expected to pop up on a website like this. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, we're gonna jump right into perks then. Alacrity working in solo activities is intended, but it's too strong of a perk to have 100% uptime in PvP, so it will no longer work in Rumble. Archer's Gambit has had a reduced draw time buff from 66 to 60% and buff duration from 8 to 4 seconds, although it can now stack up to 8 seconds. Um, Grave Robber will now activate on dealing damage with a powered melee in addition to standard melee kills. And then here's the big one.
Here's
Chain
the big one.
reaction. This is the other part of the forbearance nerf. Too strong on special ammo weapons in its current form, so we branched it between heavy and special ammo weapons, and we'll be shipping it out on new special weapons in the final shape. Special, about 15% smaller AoE size and 20% less damage. Heavy, same AoE as before, and 30% more damage. So all I heard is that my Hullabaloo and Edge transits are going to be even better. That's all I'm hearing from this. Eddy Current was too slow to activate and didn't provide a strong enough bonus, particularly when amplified. There's some changes there. I don't know anybody who uses Eddy Current. Underdog was shelved a long time ago, but we're swapping it out for a more viable perk on weapons that still had it. Underdog has been replaced with Pulse Monitor.
Hmm.
That's a choice. Osmosis and Permeability had some interesting build crafting potential, but when all they do is change damage type, they don't have enough general utility. These no longer drop off when pulling out a ghost or similar actions, and now partially refill the weapon's magazine on activation. Really like that for Osmosis, especially if Traveler's Chosen is going to get this. Really big fan. Um, Also, it feels like Permeability is just like
Man,
kind of dead.
Traveler's
Previous
Chosen.
chill clip change hurt the slow rate of fire weapons disproportionately and left rapid fire fusions as the clear best option. So we branched functionality to account for this. Uh, rapid fire fusions like Riptide will still require 3 shots to freeze, but slower firing fusions only require 2. All other archetypes have been unnerfed and only require 2 shots to freeze. Really, really interested to see what this means for things like Bump in the Night with Chill Clip or Cold Comfort. Really, really glad I held on to those. High Ground's functionality wasn't delivering on the concept strongly enough. Okay, I don't think anybody was using it. Reworked to provide a stacking damage bonus when getting kills in any context, similar to Rampage, or instantly granting the maximum amount of stacks when damaging an enemy from high ground. PvE max bonus increased to 25% and PvP to 15%. Um, Perks that currently match your equipped subclass have been changed as follows. Osmosis and Tessellation now match the damage type of your equipped grenade. Permeability and Elemental Capacitor now match the damage type of your equipped super. So those are interesting. That's presumably so that they'll work with. Oh my fucking god, what is it called?
You're blank, Josh. Look at you.
I. What is the new fucking subclass called?
Prismatic?
Prismatic. There we go. We spent so many years speculating about this, and I can never remember the goddamn name now. Um, and then finally, Deconstruct had a variety of issues that cropped up when it started to appear on AoE weapons. It's been updated to address bugs and prevent exploiting ammo generation. Now refills from reserves instead of from thin air and should trigger more reliably across weapon types. Cool. Deconstruct basically is not useful on anything except for PvP weapons occasionally. And then the future. Now that we're largely happy with weapon damage in PvP, we're going to move into the PvP specific tuning out of the game modes and into base weapon tuning in the future. This will give us the ability to fine tune damage per weapon subfamily, for example, on precision hand cannons instead of all hand cannons. We've also had big system changes we're working on for a future release, including redesigns of PvP and PvE ammo economies, including player choice into weapon mods and more new weapon types. That's exciting. Very excited for that. And then be on the lookout for another sandbox focused article coming on May 22nd about abilities and exotic armor. That, of course, will be on next week's episode. Whew! We're done. We're done with that.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I just read that entire article in about a 20-minute span
I I
out
I
loud.
I see.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Take a sip, Josh. You
I
deserve
am
it.
out of drink.
Oh no,
I
Josh
am
is
out of
out of
drink
drink.
because
There's another large document to read, Josh.
I know I drank half of it while we were sitting here. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
all right. Luckily this next one is not nearly as bad. Um let's jump straight into it. We're going to shift on over to Schwab now. So open up your Schwab documents.
The
Talk about some of the things here. There's a few interesting things for us here. We're going to start off with two weapon reveals we got this week. We got some little teasers, and I think these teasers actually kind of suck, honestly. I'm gonna level with everybody. I think they suck. Um, the Microsm Exotic Heavy Trace Rifle. This thing looks really cool, but if you're going to tell me the only thing it does is break shields more efficiently, then that's a waste of a heavy. Of course, where
Should,
have you heard that one before? So interested to see how this one plays out. This looks really rad, though. I think this is a really cool weapon design, if
it looks
nothing else.
it looks awesome, but like
It looks really cool, but I'm gonna need it to do something. I'm sure it does something else because there's always two perks on these exotics, right? And then the one that interested me was the Kov stuff. So it's shown and it's exotic perk. So I could have sworn that they said that they were going to make this craftable. Um, but the exotic perk that they're advertising is every seventh bullet ricochets. That is not. I don't think I need to explain this to people that is not exactly exciting for me. Um, so I'm like, okay, don't really like that. Um, and then we got three exotic class uh chest pieces revealed. Um, which this is the first exotic warlock chest piece since Season of the Chosen for those keeping track at home. Um, Matadoxia, Matadoxia. That's how I'm going to choose to pronounce this. Matadoxia.
sure.
Uh, this thing is interesting. I saw a lot of people getting really upset about this. Actually, they're like, "Oh, Titan's got something really cool," but this is arcane needles cause a suspending detonation. If you really build into Strand, I could see this being cool, but this feels like very much more of like a niche, again, like a niche thing to do. I don't know. I'm not really jazzed up about this one. I think it looks cool, but maybe I'm just boring and I don't understand this. But yeah, not really jazzed up about that. Or Gifted Conviction, which is the Hunter exotic chest piece. Um, this thing is interesting. Arc aspects create bouncing explosives. Um, so
I mean,
cool.
how does that? I don't know, man.
I don't know. That it really feels like both of these feel like they should have just been built into the subclass as new aspects, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting.
Because then look at this bullshit that Titans get hazardous propulsion, where when you pop your fucking barricade, it shoots off rockets.
Yeah,
Imagine being the other two classes and then seeing this bullshit.
yeah,
I saw this one first and I was like, oh, surely we get something cool. What's the one that Hunter's got? Nope.
yeah,
Nope. This is easily the best of the three, and I'm going to tell you right now, this thing is going to suck ass in PvP.
yeah.
They are going to have to nerf the shit out of this for PvP.
It's awesome. I
I
finally got the best exotic.
What do you mean finally? You've been getting the best exotics for a while.
Nope. I'm saying it right now.
Brother, you got Pyrogale gauntlets last season. I don't even want to fucking hear it from you
I know
right
I
now.
did. I'm
I
just
don't want.
saying.
I don't want to hear it. I want to hear it, Corey.
You know what? You
I
know
don't
what
want to
though?
hear it. I
I
want to hear it.
like.
Okay. Nope. 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 I'm not hearing it from you.
It's not Twilight Garrison, so
Yeah. Sorry. We
shucks.
can't send death threats over it.
No,
All right.
I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be really.
I think this is. I think this is really cool. This is what an exotic should do.
Yeah.
It should fundamentally change the way you play the game,
Yeah.
and
You got
I think it's so cool.
hunters.
And
Hunters. I feel like the hunters got really effed in this.
this is nothing new. This is nothing new.
It.
Corey, we got faster reload pants for one of our exotics with Lightfall, for fuck's sake.
I know, isn't that awesome? How fast did you reload, Josh?
Oh my god, dude. I couldn't believe speed loader slacks is what they gave us. I was so mad. I'm still upset thinking about what my options were there. I have not been thrilled with the Hunter exotics this year. In case anybody needs to know where I stand, have not been super thrilled with them this year. But they gave us Star Eaters like 3 years ago, and like have failed to make anything that's remotely as like useful as those. So I guess this is like our comeuppance. I don't know. Our punishment was that they made Celestial Nighthawk good again. All right, enhancement in the final shape. Let's get into it. This is our last big thing that we got to get through
All right,
today.
let's do it. Let's get it.
Whew. During Lightfall, players have gotten a taste of weapon enhancement with the Raid Adept weapons from Root of Nightmares and Crota's End. Final shape, you'll see this system has undergone upgrades, making enhancing your weapons easier and allowing us to comfortably expand the system to include more weapons. Here's a quick recap on how it will work alongside some of the changes. Weapon enhancement allows weapons to be upgraded to receive enhanced traits, a weapon level, and a memento socket. To upgrade your weapon, players can navigate to the inspection screen and insert the enhancement tier mod for standard currencies. Raid Adept weapons will continue to use Spoils of Conquest. There are 3 enhancement tiers. Enhancement Tier 1 replaces your masterwork and provides the weapon with an enhanced intrinsic that matches the stat of your old masterwork. Provides a weapon level, a date when you first enhanced the weapon, and a memento socket. And then for raid adepts only, since these weapons have a base crafted version, we want the adept versions to feel like a meaningful upgrade. Therefore, these weapons can visit the relic on Mars to adjust their first 2 columns, barrels or magazines, in a similar fashion to how crafted weapons can augment these perk columns. That is very cool. That's very groovy to me. I like that. You no longer have to fret about, oh, I got a great roll except for the first 2 columns. Enhancement Tier 2, weapon level 11 required. Once a player inserts this mod, the left column trait will automatically be upgraded to their enhanced perks. If you have multiple perks, this will update all traits in the column. Players will not need to visit the Relic on Mars to update these traits anymore. And then Tier 3, which is level 17, once the player applies this mod, the right column traits will automatically be updated to be enhanced. So when they're saying you have multiple weapons, we're talking like things like the onslaught weapons, your shiny onslaughts. So I think that's really cool. Um, this is what I really love, though. This is really cool. We've heard the feedback that weapons should have more avenues to acquire enhanced traits. In the final shape, all new weapons will either be craftable or have access to weapon enhancement. In addition, weapons that remain active drops in the following activities will be eligible for enhancement.
Ooh.
Vow of the Disciple Raid Adepts, Kingsfall Raid Adepts, the Prophecy Dungeon, Guardian Games, Trials of Osiris, Crucible, Iron Banner, Nightfalls, Vanguard Ops, and Competitive Crucible.
Hmm.
This will include older instances of these weapons as long as they have an origin trait. Unfortunately, due to some technical constraints, there are a handful of weapon instances from before Season 17 that have origin traits and are active drops, but they will not be eligible for weapon enhancement. If a weapon is not actively dropping in these activities or playlists, or it's under the Legacy Focusing option, it will not be enhanceable when the final shape releases. If weapons are reissued and become a part of the playlist, active drops once again will update older versions that have origin traits to enter weapon enhancement. So I'm very curious because I have held on to things like my peace bond for a very long time, and I am curious to see how that's going to play out. The Because that does have a trait on it, that sulking wolf on it. What I'm more interested in is um there are two specific ones on here. Now, one of them does not have origin traits. They have not put origin traits onto Garden of Salvation weapons yet. So I feel like that's coming. Um Also curious is that none of the dungeons outside of Prophecy are listed here. So I find that very interesting. I feel like they're gonna introduce those over time to be enhanceable.
Yeah,
Um,
I wonder if they'll like over the course of the episodes or something, they'll just I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think they're gonna do that because then that'll give you like reason to go back and get better rolls.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not entirely certain how they're gonna do that. That's very interesting to me that they're doing this.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the other ones that they're talking about here is King's Fall. So King's Fall is not on here. Those weapons are craftable. They don't have master versions though. So I have to think that that's part of it is that they aren't craftable. Um, or that they are craftable, they just don't have a master version. I don't know. There's a very interesting distinction here, but they did say there are technical limitations. That may be some of the technical limitations they're talking about. Um, so the have origin traits and our active drops will not be eligible for weapon enhancement because I think where are we at? What is the current season? I know it's Wish, but
23.
yeah, oh, it's 23. We're in 23 right now. So from Season of the Haunted and earlier, there will be some drops that are not able to be enhanced. So I have to think they're going to roll out enhancement for basically everything post duality. So at some point you should be able to do Spire of the Watcher, Warlord's Ruin, and Ghost of the Deep weapons enhanced. Um, so I find that interesting. I think that's actually pretty cool. Um, I've certainly seen worse. I'll put it that way. And that's a lot more than I think I expected for us to see. Um, I do also think that that means that you're going to have certain weapons. I mean, obviously, haunted and risen weapons that won't be able to be enhanced, and that's again, I think that's okay. I think you'll be totally fine.
Mhm.
There's going to be so many things you can enhance now that that's going to be the way to go on a lot of things. Um, and then we have one more thing to talk about here, Corey.
One more thing.
One more thing, and it is an update to Mementos, which I've been waiting for a while, and this is pretty common, pretty common sense, I think. Crafted and enhanced weapons will no longer need to visit the relic on Mars to apply mementos. Players can apply the memento of their choosing directly in the weapon inspection screen. Memento stack cap limits will be raised from 1 to 3, and they will no longer be stored alongside the player's consumables. When the final shape launches, your mementos under consumables will be shown as faded. Then, once the faded memento is dismantled, you'll see +1 memento added in the weapon inspection screen as a virtual currency. For players who figured out how to get around the original memento stack size limits, this will allow you to dismantle all those mementos safely, even if you temporarily go over the intended stack limit of 3. If you're holding 3 or more of a particular memento, it will not drop again until you spend your mementos to be under the stack size limit of 3. I like this because this was one of my big questions is like, how are you going to do this? Like, this makes no sense. Increasing it to 3 is pretty common sense. I would like it better if it was 5, but maybe that'll come in a later update. Um, Especially if you're going to put such a huge emphasis on crafting and now anything's enhanceable, so you can slap a memento on anything. I feel like you're going to have to increase that from 3 to 5.
Hmm.
That's probably going to have to happen fairly quickly. I would imagine that's maybe part of like a 10th anniversary update once they've gotten some more feedback. Reduced fragment costs at Ikora in the final shape. Subclass fragments purchasables from Ikora are expensive, particularly considering how many there are, especially for new lights. In the final shape, we have reduced the cost of fragments from 25,000 glimmer to 10,000 glimmer. Cool. And then, Corey, before we get into the questions, we've got an interesting thing here from on Rhulk.
That's
We've got an interesting little tidbit here. Some
a
some
little
things that
tidbit.
I really like these little dossiers they've been putting in here. I'm really excited to see what Rivens and Nezerax say next week because they're kind of hinting at some things.
Yeah, it seems there's more to these characters than just what they've been.
I don't even know if it's more to the characters. I think it's setting up some future plot
Well,
threads.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
So this week's classification, the last known Lubraean. It's never good when it says last known because, Riven was the last known Kara. And then we found out about Tyrannus. So, and all of her eggs.
Hmm.
First disciple of the witness actually explicitly confirms this was the witness's first disciple. Other names, the Upender and the Worm Father. Dread, this is the first time we've seen something referred to as Dread. And Resonant. We thought Resonance was going to be the final element for like 3 years. Oh, how silly we were. Hazards. Darkness Mastery. Immeasurable strength and durability. The powerful Lubrae's Ruin Glaive. Oh, that's a good one.
Mm.
Savage Strike Kick, Sons of Lubrae attack and debuff, Umbral Suffocation attack, Teleportation, Resonant Spikes area effect. Guardians rated Sigma 3 or lower are advised not to engage. Here's the interesting stuff, the intel and the of notes sections. So for those who don't know, Rhulk was born on the planet Lubrae, a world originally blessed by the Traveler that spiraled into an authoritarian regime when the Traveler left. Fueled by rage, Rhulk sought to destroy the regime, but his bloodlust led to him being ostracized from his clan. Eventually, afraid of what he'd become, his clan attempted to kill him. Decrypted records from the pyramid indicate the witness made contact with Rhulk during this time, restored him, and empowered him as the first disciple. This is the explicit confirmation we've been looking for, that he is the first disciple. We'd always kind of suspected it, but it had never actually been confirmed. Crazy. Rhulk takes his revenge or his vengeance on Lubrae, annihilating its planet star and destroying the planet. Vanguard power assessments place Rhulk far above any previous enemy faced by any Guardian. Battle scholars theorize the bold fire team that stormed the pyramid only prevailed due to Rhulk's humoring a fight to begin with, but prevail they did. I love how this ties into the lore of the fight because we only see a fraction of his true power, and it's in that final stand moment when he
Hmm.
realizes, oh shit, these guys can actually kill me.
Hmm.
I love that. Now, are you ready for this, Corey?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So I'm going to read these out of order because I want to drop the bombshell at the end. The
The
creation of the hive was majorly influenced by Rhulk. The first disciple of the witness subjugated the worm mother Zeta and forced her spawn into union with the krill, which led to the hive species and the hive gods themselves. Cryptarchs have uncovered communications between Rhulk and Savathun, in which Savathun derides Rhulk's simplicity as a tactician. According to the Witch Queen, the first disciple values only strength, and his downfall will be his brute force approach to every situation. Here we go.
Here we go.
This is the piece that none of us knew. Hidden cipher sequences buried in the symbols throughout have been decrypted by a pioneering cryptarch thanks to countless fire teams keeping the way clear. I assume that this is the missions that you do afterwards. I forget what they're called, but there's a series of missions you can do afterwards. That's a repetitive weekly mission. The solved sequence is believed to be in astronomical coordinates to Lubrae. Probe dispatched awaiting arrival. I am fascinated that we are getting this because this is the second time in as many weeks where we've gotten a hint to maybe we're going to explore beyond just our soul system.
Hmm.
And I really, really like hearing that. Let me tell you, because I love the space fantasy idea of Destiny, and it is something that I have waited for quite a long time. Um, one of the other things was last week that the dreadnought um, still has faint biosignatures pulsing from within the ship's hull, um, which is fascinating to me, and that Oryx's worm manipulated him, as well as tithing to Oryx in secret, not knowing where the power of the tithes goes, given the Taken King is dead. Those were some interesting asides in last week's, and then in the first week we had a few that maybe we kind of glazed over a little too quickly. Um, specifically talking about Golgoroth, and there was a little bit of stuff, but it outright confirms that we have the tablet of ruin, or one of the tablets of ruin, vaulted. So we're keeping that in the tower. That surely can't be a good idea.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Sounds like a terrible idea. Um, and then there are other mutations that belong to the caretaker that Guardians supposedly have fought. I don't believe that we've seen those in game quite yet. That probably will pop up during the Scorn themed episode. Also, number of worm spawn marked is collected from the pyramid and delivered to the tower's vault containment. Guardians who have information regarding their whereabouts should submit a report to Vanguard leadership. There's a discrepancy in how many, so clearly somebody's fucking around there. Um, a copy of Atrax One's Mind exists somewhere stored somewhere on Europa, although this has yet to be verified. At least two of the initial 6 fire team members that destroyed Atrax One believe they destroyed a clone and that the real Atrax still lives. This is under investigation. I actually would really love if Atrax came back. To me, this all but confirms that Atrax is coming back. We've long thought we're going to get a true dungeon in the Deepstone Crypt, and again, we have a Fallen themed season, I believe, coming up. So no, we don't. Do no, we have Vex. God, I can't wait for a Vex themed episode. We've got the Vex. We've got um the Hive, and we've got the Scorn. Maybe Atrax pops up during that, but there's been some seeds planted about maybe going to Reese at some point. And then you have the Explicator of Planet Zorak. Zorak is actually a clone, a Cabal clone. Uh, according to Vanguard decryption team, Zorak, who was granted the title Explicator of Planets, has surveyed a collection of worlds conquered by the Black Fleet for an unknown purpose. Preliminary theories span weighing the worlds for discipleship to searching for the veil or a method of contributing to the final shape. Um, and his personal logs have also been decoded. It seems whatever their goal was, they were personally cataloging worlds that had once been part of the Cabal Empire, but were no more. I'm very fascinated in some of the things that are being laid out here. We've heard, there's also been whispers of Torah Bottle in the lore lately. This is kind of serving as like a de facto lore corner for us this week. I am very curious to see where the story goes, and that actually leads us into one of our questions tonight. It's going to lead us into questions.
Questions?
Um, questions. Jiggly Panda asks, if you were in charge of creating the next Destiny expansion, what would you add? Would you bring anything back and take us somewhere we've been, or make something new and exciting? It's always going to be new and exciting. I'm never going to advocate to go back somewhere that we've been before.
Hmm.
Um, I think the one exception for a lot of the player base would be Venus or the Dreadnought. Um, and I would say I only want to go back to like the Dreadnought or Venus if it actually makes sense from a story perspective. I don't want to go there just for nostalgia.
Hmm.
And I think Bungie has gotten so much better at creating sandbox worlds. Like you can go look at, I mean, even comparing the EDZ to the original Cosmodrome, it's night and day.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, then to compare those to like Europa or Neomuna or the Throne World, especially, I feel like it's totally night and day in terms of what a patrol zone should look like. I would really want it to be Vex focused. I'm dead serious. I think the Vex have a lot of interesting stories to tell. Still, they are the one that we really haven't tapped yet.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to find that. I'd like to find some lore as to exactly how the Witness got the Soul Divisive on his side. Um, there's just a lot of stuff there. Like, did what's on the other side of Clovis's portal that he built? I think that actually could be the beginning of an expansion. Go through the portal. Go through Clovis's portal.
Yeah.
That could be really cool. I'd love to see something like that in the future. There's a lot to do with the Vex mines. Of course, there's the Great Garden of Salvation raid. Vault of Glass is a classic. I'd even take a dungeon at this point. I'd take a true Vex dungeon. I know we got one with Spire of the Watcher, but I'd love one that ties in maybe to episode Echoes, and kind of follows up on this storyline that we've been telling in Wish, where the Vex are invading the Blackguard, or invading the Dreaming City. I'd really like to see an expansion upon that storyline. Um, What about you?
I would definitely. I think I'm going to cheat a little bit here, Josh. Okay.
Cheat a little bit.
I think it would be really cool to use a place we've been, like Venus, or like you said, the closed portal, to transport us to somewhere new, right? Like you kind of alluded to that with the Vex and stuff, but I think it would be really cool if like there's some sort of wormhole to take us to Reese or Rhulk's Libra, or somewhere like that, to maybe the next expansion begins where we get lost in one of these wormholes, and like the whole story kind of maybe revolves around us exploring slash surviving in this new land that we've never explored before. And I think that would be really interesting and uncover the secrets of whatever, uh uncovering the secrets of Rhulk's race, and seeing like what happened to them, and why there's this wormhole from point A to point Z, right? I think that would be really interesting, almost like a mass relay from Mass Effect or something, except you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, I feel like us exploring beyond the soul system is pretty much a given at this point. They're planting the seeds, right? We've heard about, Keitel's objective is making sure that trying to reclaim Tora Bottle. We know Tora Bottle's basically been turned into a war moon at this point. It's been long speculated that maybe that's Zivo Wrath's war moon. Lubre has been all but destroyed, obviously. Like, I mean, come on, they nuked it with a fucking star. But just because someone is supposedly the last of their race does not mean that they're last. I actually think it would be really cool to encounter the Lubraians. Maybe a few were like off planet or something at the time, or managed to escape to destruction somehow, and have been living in secret for like 30,000 years. We know it's been at least 35,000 years since Rhulk became a disciple, in the lore of the universe. So I actually would find that really, really cool.
Hmm.
Um, there's been, there's seeds being planted for that. For Reese, we know that that is where Aramis is going to. Her story is, to me, if they left her story where it is, I don't think I'd be too upset. Like, I
Hmm.
don't think you have to kill an antagonist.
Yeah.
She's kind of played her part by saving Mithrax, but I think it would actually be really cool to see her, like, her and Aetheris, meeting up in game and kind of rebuilding Reese, maybe with the help of Mithrax and Ido. But I think that that was probably what she was most right about, was that you were going to have to what do you call it? Like, Ido is the leader of the future for that, for the house, not just for House Light, but for all of the Elixni. And I think she's right on that. I think, like, in a way, too much has been made of Mithrax.
Hmm.
Um, as much as I want to see my boy be the leader, I actually think it's much more likely that he does become a guardian at some point and passes the leadership of House Light to Ido.
Yeah.
Even though, like, without Mithrax, there's a pretty good chance that the Elixni race is probably extinct by this point. Him choosing to align with the city and with the Traveler, like, really speaks volumes to it. And I mean, like, same with Keitel, right?
Yeah.
We probably would have wiped out what was left of the Cabal, or they would have just been Shadow Legion. So there's some pretty interesting things you can do here. I think my thing is always going to be, I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see more. I think it becomes more difficult to argue for the more, for how much more can we really do with this iteration of Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Just with how it's running and whatnot, you're gonna have to abandon last gen at some point. And it's just like, it's a matter of, when do you do it? Do you squeeze another year or two out of this, and then when the next generation launches, maybe you're just like, hey, here we go.
Yep.
Like 2026, do you drop Destiny 3? Like, who knows? And it's, of course, cool things like this, and not just repurposed areas, really depend on what Sony is willing to fund at this point, right? There's going to be a lot of internal struggles at Bungie over the next, 6 to 12 months, maybe even up to 18 months, like, really, until Marathon gets out. That piece that came out was just so damning about not really caring about the state marathons and just trying to get it out the door and let people who were left deal with it. That's so damning to me
Yeah.
that I just don't know how you come back from it.
Yeah, I don't I feel like yeah, marathon is going to be interesting from a just from a just from watching from afar, I think. I don't know. It's interesting. The more and more I hear about it and see that kind of stuff, it makes me feel like nobody that's still there wants to work on it, and it's just kind of being forced a little bit, but I don't know. That can be a conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's a conversation I think we can have post final shape and once we have like episodes in hand and whatnot.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Ronnie asks, as we get closer to episode 200 of Tower Casuals, what are some hindsight things you would have changed about the show sooner if you had hindsight, if anything? Um, I'll be honest. The only thing I would have changed is I would have stopped fighting like us making a Discord sooner.
Yeah, that definitely something we probably should have done sooner. Also, we didn't know it was going to become this
No,
big though either, right? I mean, this was a side project for both of us because we love Destiny, and Josh and I don't really get to talk very often just because of our schedules, and my life changed, and this was the one thing that we could bond over. And
yeah,
I mean, like we've said 100 times before, this show was only supposed to be like a 30 or 40 minute show.
and now we're talking like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
2 hours every week.
Yeah. uh so I mean, I think the show evolved based on how we were feeling about it, and then the Discord came along because our show evolved, right? I mean, I don't know if, like, on day one we had a Discord, like I don't know if that would have changed anything, right? Like I appreciate everybody in the Discord, and I appreciate the Discord. I Maybe we could have done it earlier, right? But like, you know, that's I have more regrets about my other podcast stuff than I do about this one, right? Just the way I've handled things over there. Uh, you know, not that I regret anything now, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things I learned what not to do over there that, personally at least I kind of have applied here.
Yeah,
And I think this show was better for it, and it grew organically and naturally, and the Discord grew organically and naturally, and then the show grew naturally, right? And I think having the clan helps. I think having the Discord helps. I think having, just a community in general that champions Destiny and Tower Casuals as a whole really helps. I think,
yeah.
you know, um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have any real regrets. I mean,
No, I wish we would have done some things sooner.
sure.
Specifically for, I mean, I already said it, but I think like the Discord, like because you guys really have Nerd to thank for the Discord.
Yeah.
He really wanted one. Nerd had done an awesome job of trying to build a space for like our friend group for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in fact, the summer that we met Nerd, which was the summer that we were starting Tower Casuals, he actually set up the first Discord server.
Mhm.
He's part of the reason that I'm actually on Discord today, is because he started one, and it was for a group of Destiny creators. And um, we would be able to set up the occasional raid and whatnot, but it never really took off the way that we really wanted it to. Um, and this was kind of the second stab, and he basically was like, "You don't have to have any involvement with it if you don't want to. I will take it. I will help set. I will set everything up. I will get the bots working. I will get the channels working." And I was finally persuaded to do it around episode 100. Episode 100 is really when there was a push. We were getting a lot of questions. I know Joe was one of the ones who was asking if we were ever going to do a Discord or anything like that, and I finally said, "Fine, do it." I don't want to be the one running it though. Like I was not. I have never been one of those people who wanted to be like, "Come join my Discord server," and now I can't imagine doing the show without it. um, I feel like we have fostered a really good community here. So my regret would be not doing it sooner, but I also think
Mhm.
like everything comes along when it should,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the perfect time for us. That was the next step forward. So
Yeah. Yeah. So nerd,
no real regrets here.
yeah, nerd deserves 1,000% of the
Yeah.
credit of the growth of this community. Like,
He really does. Nerd has done so many cool things. Coming up with the fashion contests,
mhm,
doing some of the wacky things that he does. The dungeon crawl was his idea. He'd really wanted to do that for a while. He'd wanted to do a dungeon crawl or a raid crawl.
yeah.
We had speculated some ideas, like spitballed some stuff around episode 150 that just like kind of never took off, and like I might try to see if we can do in the future at some point.
Mhm.
Um, but we joked about the idea of like maybe me narrating it like it was like ESPN or something, or like a 30 for 30 or something like that. Like there were some really like fun like multimedia ideas we were coming up with, and it's just like it's so big brain though that's like really hard for like two or three people to put together and do.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so yeah, no, nerd is very much the secret third member of Tower Casuals.
Yeah.
Not so secret, but he is very much the unseen force behind behind the community.
Yeah. And I mean, outside of nerd too, I mean, we have a ton of people who have
We have a
contributed
great
here.
team.
Yeah.
I'm going to save a lot of my thanks for 200,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I've already talked to a few people in the community, and I'm putting together a special thank you for some of our moderators and group leaders. So um our next question comes to us from Tiger Jesus 64. Tiger Jesus has been writing in for years also. Thank you so much. What is the most expensive sandwich you've ever had, and was it worth it?
Most expensive sandwich I've ever had?
Yeah, what's the most expensive sandwich you've ever had, Corey? Was it worth it?
Jeez, I don't know. I don't like it's not
Was it
like
from the Earl?
I mean, if you count buying like 5 sandwiches at a time from
Nope,
Lowe's.
individual sandwich.
Um, so Firehouse subs, I spent probably like almost 17 or $18 on a sub by adding things to it.
Fair.
That it was
Was it worth it?
yeah. Yeah, I got, I added double bacon, I got jalapenos,
Okay.
I got extra mesquite turkey. I got the spicy mayonnaise, which is quite delicious. Uh it was quite delicious. So I'm gonna say yes, it was worth it. It was quite worth it. So what
Sorry.
about you, Josh?
So I'm gonna break off from the normal a little bit. It is still a sandwich. It is a breakfast sandwich though.
Ooh,
So I've got
breakfast.
two breakfast sandwiches for you, and they were both worth it. One is there is a Belgian waffle sandwich at a breakfast place by us that I really like. It is Belgian waffles with eggs, cheese, and ham on it, and that is absolutely delicious. I like to throw a little bit of hash browns on it too. If I eat that, I don't eat anything else for the rest of the day though, because it is so filling. Like instead of getting like breakfast potatoes with it, I have to make sure that I'm getting like fruit and like egg whites or something, like just so I don't die at the table. Um the other one, and I'm going to maintain this is the best sandwich I've ever had that is not the Hawaiian barbecue sandwich or a barbecue sandwich. Barbecue sandwiches are excluded here because I pay like $8 for them and they're the best thing on earth. There is a brunch place that I've only been to twice, and it is like the definition of this is a meal that'll change your life.
Mm,
Um, it was a French toast sandwich,
ooh.
and it is the best French toast I've ever had. First off, it's sourdough French toast, so it was incredible. It was really fluffy. It wasn't burnt at all. It wasn't even crispy. It was still fluffy. It had powdered sugar on it, but inside it had two pieces of thick ham. It
Ooh.
had one complete sunny side up egg on it, so it's got the runny yolk and everything. It had a little bit of hash browns on it. It had bacon, and it had two types of cheese. It had Swiss and cheddar on it. I actually asked if I could switch out the cheddar for pepper jack on this, and let me tell you, that is the most unconventional thing I've ever done to a breakfast item, I think, but it was fucking delicious. I still dream about that sandwich from time to time. It's at a brunch place downtown, so I don't go there very often. That requires me to drive to downtown Dallas. Dallas is one of the busiest cities in the country to try and drive through, especially the Sunday morning brunch.
Hmm.
So I don't go there, but it's really, really delicious. And if this place did takeout or delivery, I would 100% order from them way too often. That is an $18 sandwich, and it is worth every goddamn penny. I promise you, it is worth every single penny that I've ever paid. Um, as an aside, I'm pretty sure I've told this story on this show before. Um, the actual like best, if you're counting a sandwich as anything between two pieces of bread, the best thing I've ever had is a burger at a 7-Eleven in Sweden.
Ooh, that's
Not even kidding. I was 16. It is the best burger I've ever had in my entire life. I dream about that burger. That
I
it may be because it's the first time that I ever had Thousand Island on a burger, but it was incredible. It is legitimately the best burger I've ever had. I liked it so much I bought burgers to go. I brought 2 burgers back on my cruise because I liked them so much there.
nice,
Yeah, at a 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven has lunch counters in Europe because they're not just a gas station, they're actually a true corner store.
nice.
That was my first exposure really to like, oh, this is an American company that's like not McDonald's or something, that like it's an American company that operates totally differently over here.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, that mm,
Mm,
mm, such a good burger. We have one final question. I have to jump back to Twitter where Gus had one more question for us. Also, Gus, I really, really, really loved your intro. Your intro here. Got a couple questions for my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Thank you.
nice.
Question number 2 that he wrote: will we see Mass Effect 4? Sorry, Andromeda, couldn't get into it before 2030. I should go, Gus.
Well, it depends on if Bioware's around long enough to see it through.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with yes. I'm
Yeah,
actually I'm gonna make a prediction right here on this show. I think that it is either a launch title for I think it's a launch title for the next wave of consoles.
I
I think
would
it that would place it at 2026 optimistically or 2027 more realistically.
I would say 2027 was my guess. It
Yeah.
also depends on when Dragon Age is coming out, right? Like, because
So Dragon Age, have it on good authority. Dragon Age is coming this fall.
yes, I
Jeffrey Grubb has said it is coming this fall. I fully believe that because I think everybody and their mother wants to avoid Grand Theft Auto next fall, which we found out this afternoon is coming fall 2025.
yes.
That sound you heard is everybody canceling their layoffs for tomorrow and figuring out how to move their games around
Hmm.
instead.
Yep.
Because now they have to avoid both that and the Switch 2 probably launching in like September.
You think it's launching in September?
I'm just throwing that out there as an
Oh,
aside. I don't
oh,
really care when it comes out.
I
But
think March.
it's basically a foregone conclusion it's not coming before April. Like according to Nintendo's own earnings call. So like when else do you drop Nintendo could drop it on a random Wednesday in July and nobody would bat an eye.
I mean, that's fair.
I
I
it realistically, I mean they'll probably drop in October or November realistically.
I was
But
thinking like March, from what I've heard.
I mean that's what I'd heard too, but Nintendo shook it up. Like now every single person who's like, yeah, I'm guessing March is like, oh, there's no way this thing's out before April, according to what Nintendo is saying.
I don't know.
So, anyways, as an aside, it's not coming next year for sure. Mass Effect.
Right? No.
2026 is extremely optimistic. If it really has been in production like they've been swearing, then 2026 is doable. It is possible. Dragon Age hit a lot of problems. It should be noted.
Hmm.
Dragon Age hit a lot of problems. It hit a pandemic. It was rebooted at least twice.
Hmm.
But I think they know they got to get Mass Effect 4 right because if they don't, that's like studio ending. And Mass Effect is sorry, Dragon Age fans. Mass Effect is a like much more beloved franchise than Dragon. I know Dragon Age has a lot of fans, but I think that Mass Effect is like head and shoulders the better franchise. It's not even a question to me. So,
Yeah.
and when you consider this would be the first like real Mass Effect game, like I mean, if you can count Andromeda if you want to, even if you count Andromeda, this would be the first one in like 11 or 12 years by the time it comes out easily.
Yeah, because you got to remember Anthem came out in between that.
No, trust me, we remember Anthem. I have you seen like the Anthem um like apologists are making their rounds again?
No, I stopped paying attention to Anthem. When did it come out? 2013, 2013,
No, Anthem was like a
or
2018
20.
game.
I mean, 2018. Yeah, that's. I stopped paying attention to Anthem in 2018.
Yeah, Gothalion decided to tweet out that Anthem deserved so much better, and like everybody came out of the woodworks to be like, oh, excuse me, it came out in 2019. Sorry. Um, and we're the people like, oh, it deserved so much better. It deserved its chance for 2.0, and like, sure, I guess. But also I think that was like the first like real lesson for a lot of folks that like not every game gets a redemption arc. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean, like, if there's any company that should be able to like eat that financial loss, it's EA. Um, but I think that like Microsoft giving space to like things like Master Chief Collection and Sea of Thieves has like warped our idea of like, oh, a game wasn't successful at launch, it should be given years to like fix itself. No Man's Sky also falls into that. Destiny falls into that. And when it didn't happen with Anthem, it was like, what the fuck?
hmm
Like this is BioWare we're talking about here. Yeah, well, even the best studio in the world can make a game that is lackluster. It
yeah.
just is what it is. Did anybody play Dragon Age 2? Like,
I don't know. I've never played a Dragon Age game, so I can't tell
oh, okay. Well, anyways,
you.
that's my soliloquy on that.
I
I believe that is our last question.
here.
Go ahead, Corey.
I,
I'm gonna look and make sure that's it.
I was just gonna say, I do agree that Anthem deserved better, but better from EA and not not praised for it being what it is. Uh, I will say the only really cool thing about Anthem was the flying was fun until
It was the best Iron Man game we've ever gotten.
you had to like fly into the waterfalls to cool down your armor, or else you would just fall from the sky and die. So that wasn't fun.
I don't even remember. It's been 5 years. I've slept and drank a lot since then, as we covered earlier on
I've
today's
slept and
episode.
drank a lot since.
So, I've hung out with A1 Johnny a lot since then. So,
That's fair.
all right. I do actually have a question from last week that I missed from Ronnie. Um, you know what, Ronnie? I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this for episode 200. I'm gonna save this one. For the record, just so Corey can be thinking about it, the question was if there was ever a Tower Casuals community meetup party or gathering, what would that look like? What kind of food and what would your ideal meetup place be? I want to save this question for episode 200.
Yeah.
I want to save this for the live show. For the live.
You all think you are so clever. I am Dibella, the Abyssal Mind, Might of the Universe, and progenitor of Hybrid Vex Force. I am watching you. Don't believe me? I was there, reading your pathetic codes. I was there for your silly tests of paracausality. I was there when you found out I had your precious fox. I know there are lions among your six. You should have called it Operation Aegis. I am but a robin in your nest. When you leave, I will crush your eggs. I will take your server and destroy it along with all the guardians. Your time is coming. 77777.
want to save this for the live show.
Yep.
So, all right, Corey, we've been here for 2 hours. Let's get on out of here.
Yep. Let's get on out of here.
Longest show in a hot minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all going to be this long for a while, I think.
They sure are. Also, real quick, and we're trying really hard to get Josh a code, but shout out to Bungie for providing a Final Shape code. Trying really hard to
get
Josh.
Tower Casuals is an official Bungie creator now.
Yeah. So
here at the end of all things, we are an official Bungie creator podcast.
It took us
finally
5 years.
5 years. 4 years. 4 years. We are coming up on the 4th anniversary.
4 years. Yeah.
2020. 4 years, 200 episodes in. Mm-hmm. We are finally recognized as Bungie creators. Does that mean we can get some of those sick emblems to start giving out?
Maybe.
Because I would really love to be able to give
I'll reach out and see.
Okay, because I actually have a question for you when we get off air.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out and see. But yeah, so thank you, Bungie, for that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and or listening to Tower Casuals every Friday. You can listen to it in your earbuds or on YouTube with your eyeballs. Check out Xbox Casuals every other Tuesday. This past episode was very eventful. So check it out. Josh, thank you for your time as always. Really appreciate you.
Josh_Finn, 2 N's.
Josh_Finn. Didn't even let me ask where to find
Didn't even let me ask. I already knew what was coming.
No. Nope. You can find me at I am Corey HD on social media, Tower Casuals on social media, YouTube, all those places. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.